Things I wish I knew, gym edition. So instead of spending years researching and troubleshooting, I'm just gonna put all these things in a list for you guys. This is gonna cover everything from pre-workout nutrition all the way to gym anxiety. So let's do it. Do I eat before the gym? And what do I eat? Yes, always eat before the gym. Get some protein in you, get some carbs in you, because you only have a certain amount of glycogen for training. Once that glycogen is up, you're toast. So make sure you have a steady state of glycogen. Give yourself about 45 minutes to an hour to digest the food so that the glycogen absorbs. You got some amino acid in there to prevent muscle breakdown, and you're ready to train. However, you do not want to eat a huge, massive meal, especially if you're going to be doing something that's a lot of bracing. If you come in here and your stomach's full, you're going to get nauseous, having to not digest that food, and you're not even going to be able to use that food because it's not even digested yet. So clearly, rate of digestion is extremely important. So what is going to control our rate of digestion? Fats. Try to limit your fats pre-workout and post-workout. Pre-workout, you do not want to be eating a high-fat meal, as this will take very long to digest, and once again, you will not be able to utilize the carbs that you're trying to use. So we know that food is used for fuel in the gym, so this implies the question, when should I be training? In the morning or in the evening? Now, always train when you have time. If you only have time in the mornings, go in the morning. If you only have time in the evenings, go in the evenings. That should be the first rule of thumb. However, we have to get into cortisol, testosterone, food levels, energy, to where you can really try to get picky on when to train. If your goal is to maximize strength and stimulus, you probably should be training in the evening. Here's why. You have more meals in you, and your cortisol is lowest in the evenings. So, more energy, more meals, better pump. So if your goal is strength and stimulus, train in the evening. Now if your goal is just overall, health and well-being, you're gonna go in, do some cardio, do some stretching, do some light weights, some bands, something of that nature. Sure, morning will be good. And you can also train weights in the morning. I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm saying that I know definitively you will be stronger in the evening, okay? So if you wanna maximize your gains, train in the evening. So before you can create a plan, you have to know what your goals are. Do you wanna train for strength? Do some squats and squat as heavy as you possibly can, nothing else matters. You can do that. Or you can train for hypertrophy, muscle size, muscle shape, really just muscle building in general. It's completely different from strength, and the rep ranges are going to vary. Training for strength, heavy compounds. If you're training for pure strength, sticking to 5 reps and below is going to be your best friend. That's how you're going to get the strongest. However, if you're only ever training 5 reps and below, you're not going to grow your muscles in size. Your muscles grow in size in the higher end of the rep range, 6 and up. And your muscles grow to endurance, the ability to perform lots of exercise in the very, very high end of the rep range. So figure out your goals. Do you want to build strength? Do you want to build muscle and just look good? Or do you want to do a little bit of both? So once you kind of figure out your goals and what you want to do, then you can start to design your plan. So bodybuilding, muscle size, above 6 reps. Strength, trying to train just for the weight, 5 reps and below. Which brings me to my next topic, pre-workout supplements. You have to be picky if you're going to be training in the evening with these high stim pre-workouts. Okay? However, there are pre-workouts that don't have any stimulants in them, non-stim pre's that still contain all the pump products. And fun fact, anything over 300 milligrams of caffeine turns caffeine into a vasoconstrictor. So all these high stim pre-workouts you're taking, they're using none of your pump ingredients because your blood flow is so zero because you're so stemmed down. So that's a fun tip for you for high stim pre's. But if you use a non-stim pre, you have to make sure you're hydrated. If you're coming in here dehydrated or dry scooping your pre-workouts, the whole point is to push water in the muscles and increase blood flow with these ingredients. So if you're coming in dehydrated or you're dry scooping your pre-workouts, the pump products are not going to work. So make sure you're hydrated. One thing I like to do to make sure I'm hydrated is to be keen about my electrolytes. One thing I like to do is add salt, just some salt, to my pre-workouts. Sodium and water go hand in hand. Without the sodium, you get no water. So add some sodium to make sure you're fully hydrated during your workouts. So you have the nutrition, you have the pre-workout, you know when you're training, but now What are you gonna train? How are you gonna train? Whatever you do, you have to have a plan. If you're just coming in here and you're doing random ass exercises, oh, I feel like training my biceps, and then, I may do a little back here, and then you're just coming in, no plan, nothing, you're not gonna see progress, and you're gonna stop going to the gym after like a month. So, it's you do nothing, have a plan. At least know what exercises, what reps, and what you're doing when before you get to the gym. Don't try to come up with that shit on the fly. It's never gonna work. So you got everything dialed in up to this point. You come to the gym with a plan, you know what your goal is, you know how you're gonna train. So it brings us to the warm-up. Yes, you need a warm-up. Don't make the mistake of just coming in the gym, grabbing a barbell, and pumping it as fast as you can and call that a warm-up. First part of an essential warm-up, steady state cardio. This pace. The goal is not to burn any energy here. You don't really want to do that. And so what this does is it gets your heartbeat up without exerting any energy, and it primes your central nervous system to get ready to go. Fire her up. We're about to get ready to work out. One thing I like to do in this time period, it's the first thing I do in the gym, is I flip the switch. I'm on this treadmill, headphones are in, I'm zoned in, I'm visualizing the workout. I know the intensity I'm about to bring. This time period before your workout is what can get you into the proper mental state. So flip the switch. So this brings me to cardio. When to do cardio. If you're doing large amounts of cardio for fat burning purposes, 20, 30 minutes of intense cardio, do not do that before your workout. You'll burn too much energy, you'll burn too much glycogen, and that should be utilized for your weight training session. And you can even stick this after, but good rule of thumb is to keep your high amounts of cardio away from your training. So if you train in the evening, maybe do your cardio in the morning, and that'll be optimal. All right. After that cardio, one thing I really like to do is foam roll, especially the glutes, the hips, the lower back. I like to start from the ground up. So you might want to hit your hamstrings, calves, work into your hips, then work into your lower back, into your upper back, all the way up through those traps of your delts. And you don't have to do this, but the reason I suggest doing a foam rolling is because it's a way to drive blood into the muscles, especially the back and your shoulders, without burning any energy. The pain stimulus you get from a foam roller drives blood to that area. So it's a way to warm up, get blood in the muscle without having to do anything but do some foam rolling. What style of stretching should I be doing? This is a form of dynamic stretching. We're stretching the muscles, but we're moving. An example of static stretching would be this, stretching and holding. Do not static stretch. Stretch and hold before your workouts. It's a huge common mistake I see, and the problem with this is that your muscles are cold. So if you're static stretching, not only are you risking injury because your muscle is cold, what this is going to do is just not be quite as effective because you're not going to be able to get a proper stretch on your muscles because they're cold. So if you want a static stretch, do it after your workout, after you got some blood in there. However, if you do want to warm your joints up, and I suggest some dynamic stretching, these will be things like leg swings, side to side, things like this, and even for your shoulders. So we'll get into the shoulder health part now. You'll see some people doing this in the gym, you think, wow, what a waste of time. However, shoulder health is super, super important. The more mobile your shoulders are, the more you can do these things without pain, the greater range of motion you will have, the more you can stretch your muscles, the more you're gonna grow. And also, if you struggle with shoulder pain on pressing, anything of that nature, it's probably because your rotator cuffs are weak and your shoulders are cold. So for example, this would be an example of what they call a CARS, controlled articulated rotation of the joints. So anything or you're controlling rotation of the joints is going to be something you want to do before your workout. One thing I suggest as well that will be similar to a controlled articular rotation is an external rotator cuff. This is going to be huge for your stability of your shoulder because if your rotator cuffs are weak, your shoulders will be unstable and you're more than likely going to get injured or deal with impingement. So if your shoulders are always pinching, try these out. Early on, I had a very scare with my shoulder, and I realized that my rotator cuffs are weak. So the moment I started doing this before every workout for years, my shoulders have been bulletproof. So don't skip your mobility, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but make sure you're putting some blood in the shoulders, you're putting the blood in the muscles, and you're not just getting right into your workout. So now that the boring stuff is over, we can get into the fun part, the training. Now, I will say that there's a lot that goes into training, but I'm gonna try to condense this into, the essentials. And one of the first essentials, you have to be training to failure. So if you're not training to failure, you're not tapping into the threshold required to build muscle. Your body has an innate threshold you have to tap into if you want to grow. Because if your body has no reason to adapt to the stimulus in the gym, it won't grow. So if you're not trained to failure, if you're not pushing yourself, your body's like, okay, we're chilling. There's no reason to put on any more muscle tissue. But you have to be training to failure to tap into that reserve. Once your body taps into that reserve, it has to prepare itself to get more reserve and bring that baseline up. So your reps at the beginning of your exercise, when you're just dialing the form, these reps don't matter. You're not growing. These are a tool to get you to these reps where you're grinding. You're squeezing as hard as you can. Those are the reps where you're growing. These reps, rep 1, 2, 3, 4, those get you to the threshold. Those do not grow you. So unless you're getting to those final reps, you're leaving all of your gains, literally all of your gains, on the table. So, just because you're training to failure doesn't mean you get to train like an idiot and come in here, I'm just drawing, I'm going hard. Your reps have to be controlled, especially the eccentric. The concentric, or the squeeze of an exercise, has to be controlled, but more importantly, the eccentric, or stretch of an exercise, should be even slower, even more controlled. And if you can pause your reps at any point in time, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light. Do that with yourself, stop and go. And if you can control the weight and do that, then your reps are good. Whereas, if I'm going and I get back here, okay, red light, and most of you wouldn't be able to control it. So control your reps, make them slow, and really stretch the muscle, because your muscles grow the most in the stretched position. So a bicep curl, they don't grow the most on this squeeze, they grow the most on this stretched position. So put an emphasis on the stretch and make it a priority. Make it a priority and slow it down. Well, you just worked out, so what do you eat after? Now this is where you can get a little picky and you can really maximize some stuff. But for the most part, get some protein in you, get some carbs in you, and you're gonna recover pretty well from your workout. However, if you really wanna maximize an anabolic response for your workout, take the fats to 0. Choose a fast absorbing isolate and choose a fast acting carb. It could be honey, it could be fruit, it could be a supplement like dextrose, something that absorbs extremely fast, will spike this insulin, start digestion, but you have to do it in the presence of amino acids. So make sure you're using that isolate and keep the fats at 0, so no milk with your shakes. So as promised, we tried to cover pretty much everything in this video that you guys need to know. Anything from pre-workout supplements to dealing with gym anxiety. So those are just a few pieces of the puzzle, but those are some things that I really wish I knew when I started lifting. So when you can find resources and you can learn without having to spend 2 to 3 years of your own research doing all this, you can also hire a coach, you can hire a professional, and really get the ball rolling. One thing I regret not doing is doing things right from the start. After I figured out how to do things right, it was years down the line. So really make an effort to do things correctly and don't just listen to the common man or just because someone's been doing it a long time. Do your own research, figure out what works for you, and do things properly, and they will see much better results.